Good morning, dear students. This is part 5 of chapter 13. That is why do we fall ill. Already 4 parts of the chapter we have done, and I hope that you have gone through all those 4 parts. So now let me start this part 5 and let me tell you what we are going to discuss in this part. In this part 5, we'll discuss about principles of prevention. So let me start here with. See, already we have discussed how to get rid of an infection in someone who has the disease. But when we are giving treatment to the person who is having infectious disease, there are limitations. What are those limitations that I will tell you in this slide? There are 3 main limitations, and let me tell you the first one. The first one is during the treatment, the body functions of the person can be damaged, and sometimes it happens that that damage is forever. They may never recover completely. So that is the main limitation of the treatment when somebody is giving who is suffering from an infectious disease. And the second one is the treatment may take time. And how much time? Sometime a very long time. And the person may be bedridden for some time, or sometime what happens? Forever also he may be bedridden. Okay. And the third thing is the person suffering from an infectious disease may be a source to others. He may spread the disease. So these are main 3 limitations when we are giving treatment to the person who is suffering from an infectious disease. Okay? So it is always better that if we take prevention of the disease than their cure. So that is why here we will learn the measurements of prevention. How can we prevent diseases? We can prevent diseases by 2 ways, and though those are general and specific. First, we will learn general and then we will move to the specific. The general ways of preventing infections mostly relate to preventing exposure to the disease. So, how can we prevent exposure to the infectious microbes? See, there are different means. The first one is if the disease is spread by airborne microbes. So what can we do? We can prevent exposure by providing living conditions that are not overcrowded. We can avoid going at overcrowded places. And the second one is if it is waterborne microbes, then we can prevent exposure by providing safe, clean drinking water. And this can be done by treating the water to kill any microbial contamination. And the third one is if the disease is vector-borne. Vector means some animals. In previous videos we have discussed all these 3: airborne microbes, waterborne microbes and vector-borne microbes. So if the disease is vector-borne, then we can provide clean environments and see, we can stop mosquito breeding, we can keep our surroundings, so this way we can prevent vector-borne infections. Okay, or public hygiene, that is another very important point, that is one basic key to the prevention of infectious diseases. So if we start keeping our surrounding clean, we can prevent so many infections and we can be safe. All these issues we have discussed, but in addition, if I tell you the environment, about our environment, there are some other general principle also to prevent the diseases. And see, normally what happens, we faced with infections every day, everywhere. If someone is suffering from cold and cough in the class, it is likely that children sitting around will be exposed to the infection. So at that time, that is our first duty, that we should keep ourselves safe and we should maintain some distance. The person who is suffering, the student or the child, if he is suffering from cold and cough, he is supposed to use handkerchief while coughing or while sneezing. Okay, but what happens, have you ever noticed, dear children, that all of the students do not actually suffer from the disease? Why? Because some of them, they have good immunity power, their immunity system is powerful. Okay, So their immunity system can fight against the microbes, and sometimes it happens they do not get infected by the person even if they are sitting next to the person who is suffering from an infectious disease like cough and cold. Okay, so we all have some cells. Those are very specialized cells in our body, and they kill the infecting microbes. These cells go into action each time infecting microbes enter our body, and if they are successful we do not actually come down with any disease, and if they are not successful we are caught by those infections. So the immune cells manage to kill off the infection long before it assumes major proportions. So our immunity system should be powerful. Then only our cells can kill those microbes they are entering our body. The number of the infecting microbes is controlled, the manifestations of disease will be minor. And if the number cannot be controlled anyhow, the disease will be major. That is, it will be a life threatening also. So what should we do? We should make our immunity system powerful so that it can fight against the microbes entering our body. Okay. In other words, we can say that becoming exposed to or infected with an infectious microbe does not necessarily mean developing noticeable disease. Why? Because if our immunity system is powerful, we may not get infected. So one way of looking at severe infectious disease is that it represents a lack of success of immune system. The functioning of the immune system, like any other system in our body, will not be good if proper and sufficient nourishment and food is not available. So what do we need? We need proper food to make our immunity system powerful. So the second basic principle of prevention of infectious disease is the availability of proper and sufficient food for each and every person. So these were the general ways of preventing infections. Now we will talk about specific ways. What are the specific ways? The specific ways are, see, the specific ways relate to a peculiar property of the immune system that usually fights off the microbial infections. Let us cite this an example to try and understand this properly. Nowadays there is no smallpox anywhere in the world, but if we talk about 100 years ago, at that time what was the condition? Smallpox epidemics were not at all uncommon. It was very common at that time. In such an epidemic, people used to be very afraid of coming near someone suffering from the disease since they were afraid of catching the disease. As nowadays, in present situation, we are afraid of COVID-19. In the same manner, 100 years ago, people were afraid of smallpox. Why? Because it was highly infectious. So what happened then? Even at that time also, there was a group of people who did not have this fear. Why? The question is same. Their immunity system was very powerful. Okay. So who were those people? Those people were doctors, nurses, and they were taking care of the victims of smallpox. So, so their immunity power was very good. See what happened. There was second case also. This was the group of the people who already had smallpox earlier and survived, although with a lot of scarring. But by that time, they had developed their antibodies in their system and they were able to fight against this disease. That is why at that time they were not having any fear that we will caught by this infection. So we can say that if you had smallpox 1, there was no chance of suffering from it again. So having the disease once was a means of preventing subsequent attacks of the same disease. But after having it so once, When you can be safe? If your body is healthy enough to fight against those microbes that entered your body. Okay, so I'm telling you the same thing. This happens because when the immune system first sees an infectious microbes, it responds against it and then remembers it specifically. So if they attack your body again, your body will fight against them. Okay, the same thing I have written over here. Next time that particular microbes or its close relative enter the body, the immune system respond with even great vigor. बहुत ताकत से आपका body उसके against लड़ेगा. And this eliminates the infection even more quickly than the first time around. This is the basis of principle of immunization. Your body develops a power, develops the antibodies, and it fight against those microbes even with more power, and you don't caught by the infection. See, as a general principle we can see that we can fool the immune system into developing a memory for a particular infection by putting something that mimics the microbe we want to vaccinate against into the body. This actually does not cause the disease, but this would prevent any subsequent exposure to the infecting microbe from turning into actual disease. And that is the reason of vaccination. Many such vaccines are now available for preventing a whole range of infectious disease and provide a disease specific means of prevention. There are vaccines against tetanus, diphtheria, whooping cough, measles, polio, and many others. These from the Public Health Program of Childhood Immunization for preventing infectious diseases. Okay, let me tell you, there are the programs with the government, and these programs are accessible to the children, but these programs are successful and useful only if these are available to all the children in the country. But sometimes it is not. Can you think the reason why this is? See, let me give you the example. There is a virus, hepatitis virus, and this virus causes jaundice, and that is transmitted through water. And there is a vaccine also in the market for hepatitis A. The vaccine is available in the market. But what happens in our country? Majority of children, they are already immune to hepatitis A by the time they are 5 years old. Why it is so? It is so because they are already exposed to the virus through dirty water. So this is the condition. Okay, let me tell you immunization. Immunization is the process whereby a person is made immune or resistant to an infectious disease, typically by the administration of a vaccine. Vaccines stimulate the body's own immune system to protect the person against subsequent infections or disease. That is immunization. So that is the process. As I told you, there are two methods of prevention. This is general ways and that is specific ways. Let me list out these one by one. In general, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, routine medical checkups, personal hygiene, proper nutrition. These all comes under general ways. And what is specific ways? The specific ways is vaccination or immunization. Now here is the turn of question answer. These question answers I have taken from your textbook, page number 187. The first one is, why are we normally advised to take bland and nourishing food when we are sick? So when we are sick, we cannot digest the food. That is why we are advised to take bland and nourishing food. Here is the answer, because it is easily digested and it contains required nutrients. The second one is, what are the different means by which infectious diseases are spread? I think now after going these videos, you know better what are the different means. Then also let me tell you here, water, air, vector, sexual contact, physical contact by using any affected person's clothes, bleeding, utensils. These are all the different means by which infectious diseases are spread. Okay. So next one is, what precautions can you take in your school to reduce the incidence of infectious diseases? You know it better what precautions you can take. You can maintain distance. You can cover your mouth and nose if you are suffering from a disease that is infectious. You can be helpful in keeping the school environment clean. And very important thing is by not using other things. What is immunization? Immunization is the method or the process to boost our immune system with the help of vaccines. This is the simple and easy definition of immunization. The next question is, what are the immunization programs available at the nearest health center in your locality? And which of these diseases are the major health problems in your area? For that, you are supposed to go to your nearby doctor and you can ask the doctor. But then also normally and in common, these are the programs: measles, mumps, rubella, polio, jaundice, diphtheria, tetanus, typhoid, and hepatitis B. Fine students, here are some ways that can be a good prevention measure. And nowadays, as the world is suffering from COVID-19 and it is infectious, as you know, so we can take these prevention tools and we can be safe. Wash your hands, don't touch anybody, maintain distance, use mask, do exercise to keep your body fit and fine, eat healthy food. That is very important. So these all are the measure of preventions you can take, and follow these prevention methods and stay healthy, stay happy. Thank you students. The chapter is over now and I'm sending the question answer. Write down in your notebook. Next time we'll meet with the new chapter. Thank you.